Hey there, race fans. It's race day, top 5 with me, Frank 5. 4th of July weekend, a time to celebrate independence and having barbecues and fireworks, and a great way to spend it at Wait a minute. That's right. This time, instead of Daytona, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, home of the famous Indianapolis 500 and the famous Brickyard 400, played host to a memorable weekend featuring both NASCAR and IndyCar combined, and it provided to be a solid weekend overall for both sports, some exciting racing, and a very entertaining Brickyard 400 today with a lot of things that went down in the late race event at Indianapolis. Let's get into it. Number 1, Kevin Harvick captures his third Brickyard 400 win at the Big Machine Hand Sanitizer 400 at the Brickyard, that's the name of the race, winning it over Matt Kenseth, Eric Almirola, Brad Keselowski, and Cole Custer, the top 5. Kevin Harvick was solid from the get-go. Literally, ever since we restarted from the pandemic, Kevin Harvick has been one of the top contenders week in and week out, battling for wins, battling for top 5s, battling for top 10s. He's only had, I think, 2 or 3 races finishing outside the top 10 this season. That's pretty incredible on Kevin Harvick's standards. Him and Rodney Childers have just had fast cars everywhere they've gone. They've always been up front every single weekend battling for the wins and solid finishes. They were up front a lot today, and he became the third driver in the history of the Brickyard 400 to win back-to-back Brickyard 400 winners, the other two being Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch. And Kevin Harvick had to battle through a lot of things today. He got off on a little bit of a different strategy early in the race when we were scheduled to have the competition caution. Harvick pitted a couple of laps before the caution came out so that he would be propelled as the race leader when the caution came out. That played to his favor, and he was the race leader, and he had good track position. And then we had another caution towards the end of the stage, helped because he probably would have had to pit under those circumstances because he didn't fuel the car into the competition caution, which you can't do, and before the competition caution, which you can't do, and he had a great track position all day long. He lost the restart a couple times, the lead on the restart a couple times to Denny Hamlin, but he was able to bounce back and get them, especially through some other adversity, which I'll get to in a moment. But Kevin Harvick was so good on restarts. On that last restart with the overtime, he had a big push from his rookie teammate Cole Custer, which shout out, by the way, for his first ever top 5. Cole Custer just pushed Kevin Harvick on that restart straight to the lead, and Harvick was just gone like a rocket ship. Nobody could catch him, and he just had clean air in front of him. And clean air was the big benefactor for anybody that got out front today. And Kevin Harvick certainly had the most clean air for the majority of this race, and that carried him to his 4th win of the season and his 3rd Brickyard 400 victory. Kevin Harvick certainly is one of the favorites for the championship this year. Number 2, Denny Hamlin. Everybody else considers to be the other guy other than Kevin Harvick as one of the favorites for the championship. Denny Hamlin coming in today has never ever won the Brickyard 400. He's won the Daytona 500. He's won the Southern 500. He's won a lot of big premier events. The Coca-Cola 600 obviously still is missing on the list, and so is the Brickyard 400. He's come close many times in the past, and today it looked like Denny Hamlin was going to be the first driver since Jamie McMurray in 2010 to win the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year. Until with 7 laps to go, while leading going into turn 1, Denny Hamlin with about an 0.8 of a second lead on Kevin Harvick blows a right front tire, which I'll get into that story in a little bit, and hits the outside turn 1 wall literally so hard the car erupted into flames. Hamlin thankfully was okay, but that was a scary hit. And again, I'll talk more about a lot of other things that happened that were similar to Denny Hamlin, but I mean, Denny Hamlin he is still classified as one of the top drivers in our sport, along with Mark Martin, to be the best driver to never win a championship. Hamlin can still win the championship this year. He's a favorite, no doubt. But these races with him and Chris Gabehart, the way they've been performing week in and week out, having very fast cars, they just have to get some of these race wins with solid consistency and not having mistakes or issues like this come up. But there wasn't anything he could do about it again. But thankfully, Denny Hamlin was okay after the hit. And even Kevin Harvick, after he saw it happen in front of him, which led to the overtime restart, he was wondering, is he okay? Because that was a hard hit. Thankfully, he was. No issues whatsoever. And glad Denny Hamlin's okay after that. Number 3, Matt Kenseth. Holy moly. Did you see this coming for Matt Kenseth? A top 5 finish, especially considering he hadn't been in a car since 2018. Matt Kenseth was thrown into the 42 car after the pandemic due to what went down with Kyle Larson and the racial slur being uttered over a live iRacing event that he was a part of. Larson got the heave-ho from Chip Ganassi. They brought in Matt Kenseth. And his first race back in the car for a long time at Darlington, Kenseth finished in the top 10. But since then, Matt Kenseth has had no luck whatsoever. And obviously, if Matt Kenseth wants to make the playoffs, he has to obviously win, but you have to be in the top 30 in points. He's done that already. But today, he put up his best result of the season with a second-place finish. Again, this is a race that Matt Kenseth has never won. He's won the Daytona 500. He's won the Southern 500. He's won the Coca-Cola 600. But he's never won the Brickyard 400. And today, he came oh so close to Kevin Harvick. And in actually those last couple laps, Kenseth was keeping up with Hamlin and Harvick. I mean, it was great to see those guys, the veterans of our sport who are basically one of the top stars, all future Hall of Famers. And Matt Kenseth just had a very solid run today. It's the best I've seen the 42 car since, that top 10 finish at Darlington. And a couple races before the pandemic happened, Kyle Larson had some good runs in that 42 as well. It's tough for Matt Kenseth to run these cars because this horsepower package he's never run before. And with no practice laps to get adjusted to, these cars and the track itself, it's taken Kenseth quite a while to get used to these cars. It's been a challenge for him. But today, put it together, a solid result. And, I mean, if Matt Kenseth won this race, it definitely would have shaken up the playoff grid. And I'll get into that story in just a moment. But Matt Kenseth, a really solid performance, a good morale booster for him and the whole 42 team, and maybe they can carry this momentum into possible win down the road, and they could lock him into the playoffs. And next week is a track where he's won it before, back in 2013. Number 4, a lot of chaos in this 4th of July special at Indianapolis. The first big session of chaos was on the competition caution when everybody came to pit road. There was a stack up in the middle of the pack where Michael McDowell was trying to get into his pits. Christopher Bell got ran behind by Ryan Preece, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Martin Truex Jr. was in it, Corey LaJoie, and Justin Allgaier. And I'll explain why Allgaier was in the race today, and Brennan Poole. And Allgaier clipped one of Ryan Blaney's crew members, actually, when the incident happened. Blaney's crew member was laying down on the ground, and that was a scary incident. If you've seen it on the live race or you saw it on YouTube or social media, it was a pretty scary hit, but the crew member, they showed he had thumbs up, he was okay, which is really good news. Unfortunately, he had to be taken to the hospital, but I think he'll get evaluated and he'll be released fairly soon. Prayers and obviously my thoughts are with that crew member, but he seems to be in good shape. But a lot of other things happened today other than that pit road incident on lap 12 in the competition caution. There was a lot of right front tire issues today, which, this track's, you look at it and it seems fairly smooth, but it's a little bit abrasive in a ways. And, we've had right front tire issues many years ago, but it's been quite a while. We had at least 4 right front tire problems today, or at least 3 of them. One of the big right front tire problems was Eric Jones in the middle of stage 2, where he literally just pounded the turn 3 wall with a right front tire, sending him out of the race. And he's down at that playoff grid at the bottom 16. He's out of the top 16 in points the way he finished today, so that doesn't help Eric Jones whatsoever. Another one, Ryan Newman, he had an issue early in the race. The right front tire, kind of killed his car for the most part, not as much as it did Eric Jones. Late in the race, Alex Bowman had a right front tire issue, knocked him into the wall. And then obviously I mentioned Denny Hamlin. He had the right front tire go down with 7 laps to go while leading and possibly en route to his first Brickyard 400 victory. There was a lot of right front tire issues today, but that comes of the negative of not having practice, not getting laps on these Goodyear tires on a track that it can be tough on tires at times, especially, we've seen this season. There haven't really been a lot of problems with right front tires or tire issues at races that we haven't had any practice whatsoever since we returned from the pandemic. But today there was some right front tire issues. So something that Goodyear has to look at and teams need to look at. But hopefully next year when things go back to normal and we go back to Indianapolis, this won't be a problem again. Knock on wood. Knocked on wood on one of my chairs. But, it was one of the issues, and luckily every driver that had the right front tire issue and hit the wall hard, they were okay and no injuries whatsoever. But those were some scary hits that those drivers took today with right front tire problems. And number 5, Jimmie Johnson, for the first time in his NASCAR Cup Series career, did not race today. And one of the reasons why is because on Friday, we all found out that Jimmie Johnson tested positive for COVID-19. His wife actually also had symptoms of COVID-19, and Jimmy had it as well, so he tested positive. Therefore, Jimmie Johnson had to miss his first ever NASCAR Cup Series race in his entire career. He had a streak of 663 consecutive races without a DNQ or not being able to show up to the track, and that streak ultimately ended today. Sending best prayers to Jimmy. Obviously, him and his wife and his 2 little girls, they need a lot of prayers and a lot of positivity right now with what's going on. But Jimmie Johnson's health, I'm sure he'll be able to beat this virus soon enough. If he has to take 2 tests this upcoming week, and if they're both negative, then they can come back to the track at Kentucky. but the chances are he probably won't return till Texas Motor Speedway. We won't know until he goes to his doctor and gets tested and everything. So Justin Allgaier was the driver for today, and as I mentioned, he was in that pit road incident early, so we didn't really get a whole lot of laps to see how good the car would be. But I had a good feeling that Justin Allgaier could have been up front a little higher in the race based on how good the Hendrick cars were, with the exception of some right front tire issues on Alex Bowman and William Byron at the left front. But Justin Allgaier did a good job stepping in for Jimmy today. It was a good guy to have, an Xfinity veteran, a guy that's been in Cup, but it was since 2016. He's had experience in Cup, and he's a good guy to have. Of course, one of the junior motorsports drivers, which is a Hendrick affiliate in a way. So Allgaier did his part today, but the 418 lots rebound. The bright spot for Jimmy Johnson fans is you're given a waiver to make the playoffs, and you're still in the top 16 after today. You're still 36 points above the cut line, and hopefully he comes back next week. I'm not sure, though, if with missing this race, if he's able to stay in the top 16 and he's able to stay that way after the regular season without having a win at all, would he still make the playoffs? I don't know. I hope so. I hope that's the case. And hopefully when he comes back, he can have some good results, because I think he's going to be more motivated than ever to come back from being tested positive and winning races and having some good finishes. So Jimmy, sending prayers to you, and hopefully you and your wife and your 2 little girls are doing well. Driver recap: Chase Elliott, 11th place finish. That really wasn't indicative of how good we were today. We were a top 3 car. We got up front and we led 25 laps early on. It seemed like we had a good car, but we were probably the 3rd best car behind Harvick and Hamlin. And late in the race, when Alex Bowman had his tire down with a couple laps to go, we decided to pit, which, probably, was a good decision considering right front tires were going apart a lot, but we didn't get a whole lot of track position out of it. So 11th place finish. This is an okay result. We've had fast cars everywhere we've gone. We still had a good day in the points. We got some stage points in both stages, so we still have good runs, and we'll just go get them next week in Kentucky. Today was also the return for NASCAR on NBC. Fox had an off week. They'll be back next week in Kentucky, which is the first time and probably the only time they'll ever call a NASCAR Cup race in Kentucky, but never know down the road. But NBC returned today with Rick Allen, Steve Letarte, Jeff Burton, and next year future Hall of Fame class member of NASCAR, Dale Earnhardt Jr. And sometimes I listen to the broadcast because I love listening to these guys. Probably not as much as the Fox. I love the Fox guys. I love the NBC guys. But, I was really listening to this race to see, how good Dale Jr. would be, because, obviously his first year as a broadcaster, he kind of struggled. Next year, he did get better. I could tell today, maybe early, and maybe I didn't hear correctly, but I think Dale Jr. is getting better with sentence structure and being a broadcaster in NBC. He's definitely improved. Jeff Gordon struggled in his first year as a reporter for Fox, but he got better in year 2, and he's gotten so much better since then. Hopefully that's the case for Dale Earnhardt Jr. being paired up with great men like Rick Allen, Jeff Burton, and Steve Letarte. So it's a good run for NBC, good race for NBC to come back, and it was a good, solid race overall. I will say this, though. I hope NASCAR goes back to Daytona and 4th of July weekend next year. I just think 4th of July and Daytona the night under the lights is meant to be. But Indianapolis was still a good race today. I'm not going to lie. The restarts were fun. The different strategies were fun. But I would prefer Daytona under the lights at 4th of July weekend. They may change it next year. I don't know. If I was the president, I would change it. But I don't know. It's how the schedule was placed this year, so it is what it is. So upcoming weekend is Kentucky in the Bluegrass State. We have some difficulty at that track about, tire management and obviously the tricky turn 3. But will we see a chaotic and exciting finish last year between the Busch brothers battling out for the win? Will Jimmy Johnson be able to make it to this weekend's race if he tests negative in his 2 coronavirus tests this upcoming week? We shall see. And can anybody stop Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin? It's going to be tough. So subscribe, like, happy 4th of July to everybody out there. And congratulations to Kevin Harvick on his 3rd Brickyard 400 win. Till then, have a good week.